Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We're learning Mishnayos Kesubos, Parak Aleph, Chapter 1, Mishnah Gimel, Mishnah 3. Okay, so we are continuing discussion about how much a woman is paid in her ksuba. But before we start, today's day of learning is dedicated in memory of
Sophie Rozamovsky.
Sophie Razumowski,
Shifra Bas Shraga Feivel.
Shifra Bas Shraga Feivel, Barry Steinberg's aunt, right? Dedicated by Barry Steinberg for today's learning. Her neshama shaban aliyah.
Amen.
Okay. Hagadol shvala ktana. If an adult cohabits with a minor. Now, in this case, minor does not mean under bas mitzvah age. It means under the age of 3. The katan shabal agadola, or a minor who cohabits with an adult woman. In this case, again, the minor is not referring to under bar mitzvah, but under the age of 9. When it comes to acts of cohabitation, a minor's act is considered an act from the age of 9 and up, and a woman's act is considered a significant act once it's from the age of 3 and up. But in this case, we're talking about the cohabitation took place at those younger ages. So the adult cohabited with the female when she was under 3, the minor under 9 cohabited with the adult woman, umukas eitz, or a woman who was injured by a piece of wood. She was struck by a piece of wood, and that was what broke her virginity. That's what broke their virginal membrane. Okay, so all these women, right, the question is, do they have the status of a virgin or not? And the practical implication of that is, how much will their ksuba be when they get married? Will it be 200? Will it be 100? 200 zuz or 100 zuz? So that's the question. When the adult cohabits, so that's the discussion here. In all these cases, the adult who cohabited with the minor, the girl under the age of 3, the minor under the age of 9 cohabited with an adult woman. Does that make a difference in her status of virginity? Or the woman who was struck in a way that it broke her, it took away her virginity, it broke her virginal membrane. What's their status? Says the Mishna, Ksubasan Masayim. In all 3 cases, their ksuba when they get married will be 200 zuz, which means they still retain their status as a virgin. Divrei Rabbi Meir, these are the words of Rabbi Meir. So let's go through each case. In the case of the gadol, the adult, who cohabits with the minor, there we say that in such a young age, even if, let's say, the virginal membrane was broken because of this act, because it was an adult man, so he broke her membrane, but at that young age, if that happens, we say it's going to grow back, it comes back. So when the act is done at such a young age, the membrane is going to return, which means by the time she gets married, she is a virgin. And therefore, her ksuba is masayim. The fact that she cohabited with someone isn't going to make a difference. As long in the fact that the membrane is still there, they're going to come back. There's no question that she'll be a virgin. Now, again, that's in that case. The case of the katan, the minor that cohabited, the male minor who cohabited with the adult woman, again, he's under the age of 9. There, the assumption is that actually his act will not affect her membrane. It's not developed enough to be able to say that it's going to affect her membrane, and therefore, even though, again, she cohabited, her membrane is intact, and therefore, she is a virgin when she gets married. Now, the last case, Wamukas eitz, that means she was struck in that area of her body, and it went in, and it broke the membrane, and we're not talking about here. She could be an adult here. She could be a bas mitzvah, right? It could be whatever age it is. The point is that at this point she doesn't have the membrane was broken. It's not coming back, but it didn't happen through an act of cohabitation, and therefore Reb Meir says in that last case she's still considered a virgin. Her ksuba will still be 200. Because although the membrane was broken, it wasn't broken through an act of cohabitation, and therefore Reb Meir holds she retains her status as a psula, as a virgin. The Chachamim say, Mukas eitz ksuba samana. The Chachamim disagree. In the case of the woman who was struck by the wood, which broke her membrane, they say no. If there is no membrane, then she's not a virgin, even though it didn't happen through a cohabitation, but the facts are her membrane was broken, it's not coming back, and therefore the Chachamim say she's not considered a virgin anymore, and when she marries, her ksuba will only be 100. So the Machlokes Reb Meir, so the Chachamim do not disagree in the first two cases. In the case of the adult, in the case of with the minors, the adults with the minors, they don't disagree with that case. There they agree because of the reasons we gave before that she is still a psula, she's still a virgin, and therefore her ksuba is 200. The argument Reb Meir and the Chachamim revolves around the case of Mukas Eitz, where she was struck by a piece of wood that broke her virginal membrane. There is no more membrane there anymore, but it happened through an act of cohabitation. Reb Meir says she retains her status as a virgin and her ksuba will be 200 zuz when she gets married. While the Chachamim say no. Once it was broken and it's not coming back, even though it wasn't through act of cohabitation, she loses her status of a psula, and when she marries, her ksuba will only be 100 zuz. Okay, now. Okay, the same way that we said previously, that even if you hear Lashon Hara in front of the person's face, the person says Lashon Hara about him in front of his face, that is no reason to say, well, if he did it in such a brazen way, it must be true. You can't say that when it comes to Lashon Hara. The same thing applies regarding Rechilas, the Hainu, meaning, you told the person in front of him, to his face, you said this and this about the person. Ruvain says to Shimon in front of him, you said this about Levi. Nonetheless, that's the case. Let's say Shimon doesn't respond back. He doesn't deny it. He remains silent. It is still forbidden to accept, to believe. And one should not use that on any basis as a proof that it's true. Even if typically this person is not a person who remains silent, and he's typically the kind of person who speaks up, and now he's remaining silent, that still is still not enough of a reason to go ahead and say that is the truth. Because it could be that in this case he decided better to stay silent, and therefore his silence does not constitute admittance, and therefore you have no basis to believe this as true. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Before you make